It's my favorite time of the year, aka it's a start of a new year, which means a fresh start, a reset of the financial goals, all that good stuff. It's actually really funny because there's technically no difference at all between December 31st and January 1st than there is between any other 2 days in a row, but it really does feel different, so I'm gonna be capitalizing off of that. Now, this also means that it's time for my favorite video of the year, where I get to look back at how everything went with my money over the past 12 months, but also what I'm planning on changing up and aiming for in 2024. Now, when I look back at the past year, it was actually a pretty good year from a money perspective. If you've been following along for a little while now, you would know that a few years ago, back when I graduated university, I had a corporate 9-to-5 job. I worked in HR. Now, 2.5 years ago, almost exactly, I quit that job, which is crazy. Time goes by really fast. And then I've been self-employed ever since then. Now, between just being in my early 20s trying to figure out life, to then starting to save and invest money, to then completely changing up my career path, and now for the last few years figuring out what being self-employed really means, it's been just very up and down, and every year has some sort of major change. So it's kind of nice that this year, well, first of all, I feel like life is always gonna have those ups and downs, of course, but it is kind of nice that this year was a little more steady, a little more according to plan from that perspective. Okay, so we're gonna get into covering the specifics. I'm gonna tell you guys exactly how much I saved this year, how much I invested, all the specific numbers, but also really focused on looking forward to what the plan is for next year in 2024. But first, I wanna go make a coffee because I feel like that's definitely a must for this video. Alright, so one of the biggest changes that happened with my money started at the very beginning of the year, actually, and that's us increasing the amount of money that we pay ourselves out every month. Us, of course, is myself and Dennis. So we pay ourselves out, our money goes into the business, right, and we pay ourselves out a set salary. So we went from making $2,036 a month at the beginning of the year to $3,050 a month just a few months into the year, which was really great. It gave me more breathing room in my budget, which I definitely needed. Now, from an investing perspective, my plan, especially because we hadn't increased that salary at the beginning of the year, we're still just at that $2,000 even, which was already tight just from an expenses perspective. Forget about trying to invest or save anything from that number specifically. So my plan at the beginning of the year was to transfer $1,000 a month from my high interest savings account to my investing account. Now, basically that wasn't going to change my net worth at all, right? That was literally just transferring money from one account to another. But by doing that, instead of just lump sum investing at the beginning of the year, I was keeping up the habit of monthly investing. I was also dollar cost averaging into my investment account. So that was my plan. The good news is that by increasing our salary, I think it was March that we started having the higher $3,050 number, I was able to also invest an additional $1,000 some months. So by the end of the year, I ended up investing $19,000, and all of that went into my Wealthsimple Invest TFSA. And basically, to explain the Wealthsimple Invest part a little bit more, I've been using a robo-advisor, and that's been doing my investing for me for the past few years. So when you invest, you have a lot of different options actually, but at a super high level, you can either pay another person, a physical person, to do your investing for you. You could do your investing yourself, or you could have a computer or a robo-advisor do it. Now, I've been choosing to do it the robo-advisor route for the last few years, and then I specifically use the TFSA investment account. So that's what I did from a monthly perspective, but we also paid ourselves out a bonus at the end of the year. So how it works for us based on how much actual money we make, how much business revenue we have, we kind of look into all of it in December and see how much we can afford to pay ourselves out in addition to that monthly salary. This year we went with $20,000. So for me, when I take that $20,000 into account, I'm gonna have ended up investing $31,000 for the year and then saving $8,000. So that's what happened this year with my investments and savings. Now I want to start to cover what's changing for next year. So the first big thing is that we're actually changing our monthly salaries again. We're increasing them and bumping them up even more in the new year. Now, like I just said, around that conversation we have around how much we can pay ourselves out in a bonus, we always have that big conversation about how our business did for the last year, all of that around December. And a part of that conversation is seeing if we can, if we want to, increase our salaries for the new year as well. Now, everyone's going to have a different business strategy from a financial perspective. So there's tons of different ways you can go about this, increasing your salary, paying yourselves out a salary, all of that. But for us, at a high level, we know that we do still want to invest in real estate someday. Something that's important for that is showing that our income is increasing and at a healthy amount too. So that's a big reason why we want to pay it out. But another one also is it allows us to continue to invest as well. So that's kind of a little bonus there too. So the amount that we're starting to pay ourselves out as of January, so we're done with the $3,050 a month number. Instead, now we're paying ourselves out $4,459.91 per month. Now, what that means is that I'll actually have enough room in my new monthly salary now to invest just from my salary and stop switching money from my savings or transferring money from my savings to my investing account every month. I'm actually really excited about this because I've been doing that, I guess, since we've been self-employed to keep myself investing. But again, the numbers don't actually change every month, right? I'm just switching it from saving to investing. I guess sometimes it goes up or down a little bit, but you know what I mean. So it's actually gonna be really nice to just have my $2,000 a month, that's what I'm aiming for at least, going directly from that $4,459 salary into my investing account. Then I'll be able to pay my expenses from the other $2,459.91 that's left over. And then my plan from there is just if I don't spend all of that every month, I'll save the rest. I will say though, I did like a money wrapped video this year. Hopefully you guys have seen it. If not, we'll link it somewhere for you guys to check it out. It was pretty fun. But I looked at what my monthly spending was like on average. So some months are higher, some are lower for this past year in 2023. And my monthly spending average was $2,900 a month, which is already higher than the $2,400 I'll have left. So we'll see. I'll have to like bring it down a little bit. There are categories that I can totally cut that are excess anyway. So this new salary should give me the room to invest $2,000 a month and still spend more than I had budgeted last year. So I should be more than okay in that department. But that's the plan from an income, spending, and investing per month situation next year. I also want to really quickly touch on like the emotional part of money from this perspective and seeing my numbers start to kind of grow again. For us, and I don't know if anyone can relate to this because it's a little bit different if you're like salary is continuously going up like it might be if you're staying on the same career path. But for us, when we jumped into being self-employed, we were on that steady path of, your salary slowly going up, therefore how much you save and invest can go up. It's just on a consistent path. And then we had to take a pay cut in that first year. And then, like I said, throughout the year, my investments were just coming from my savings. So my numbers weren't really changing that much. And we're finally back to a point that feels similar to where we were before we quit our jobs and were self-employed. Now, again, I always have to remember in the back of my mind that my personal income, my personal savings and investments is different because we still have a business account that is ours as well. So I know that that's there, but it definitely still it's kind of like an emotional roller coaster as you go through the ups and the downs. So it does feel really nice to feel like salary's at a good point again, and I'm going to be able to invest a healthy amount every single month. Now, another really big change that I'm making in 2024 is to my investment strategy. I'm actually no longer going to be using Wealthsimple Invest or a robo-advisor at all, and instead I'm going to be doing a self-directed approach, investing by myself using Wealthsimple Trade instead. If you guys have been following on the channel at all, this is a really big change for me. I've been using Wealthsimple Invest since January 2021, so pretty much exactly 3 years ago. It's been a really long time, and that was a big deal for me to actually start investing even using a robo-advisor. I've kind of tracked the emotional journey of changing up my investment strategy over time, but it's been pretty similar other than tweaks here and there over the last 3 years. So this is a big change. I actually still liked using the robo-advisor. It makes things easy. I'll talk a little bit more about this in a second, but the biggest reason why I'm making the switch, or at least what spurred me to make the switch now, is the fact that as the amount of money I had in my account grew, as I invested more, the amount of money I was paying in fees became higher. Now, the fee for Wealthsimple Invest specifically is only 0.5%, which is still a lot lower than the 1% to 2% average that it would cost if you had a real life human doing your fund manager doing your investing for you. So it's still much cheaper from that perspective. But as someone who's really been growing in my confidence and feel like I'm more capable in my investing journey, I do want to highlight before I keep going that technically it doesn't even take a lot of confidence and ability. We'll do more videos and talk about that a little bit more in the future. But I did realize that I could still save hundreds of dollars a year, if not thousands of dollars a year eventually as my account continued to grow in its value by doing it in a self-directed way and just investing for myself. So now's as good a time as any to actually make that switch. I do want to say we're going to be doing at least 2 more videos in depth about this topic. So one covering my portfolio results after 3 years of using the robo-advisor first. So before making the switch, seeing where my account was at the 3-year mark, which is pretty exciting. We've been documenting the last few years as well. And then also one all about the actual transfer of changing your Wealthsimple Invest account into a Wealthsimple Trade account, especially when I had my TFSA. I just transferred from one TFSA to another. So stay tuned for those in the new years. We'll get new year, and we'll get really into depth and detail on those 2 topics. So the other decision I made with making this switch is that I could have in theory just bought the exact same ETFs that Wealthsimple Invest, the robo-advisor, was buying for me now on my own with Wealthsimple Trade. Instead of doing that, I'm keeping it simple. I'm going for a one fund solution. I'll be investing in XQT instead. That's the only fund I'll be investing in. It's the same one Dennis has. We have a video on this on the channel already as well. And I'll be doing that on a monthly basis. Now, before getting into that, I first have to transfer and reinvest that $50,000 that was in my account when I left Wealthsimple Invest. I think for now, my plan is to do $10,000 a month over like a 6-month period. So it's $50,000 plus the $12,000 I'm investing from our bonus this year. And then I'll still be doing $2,000 a month in 2024. So once all that money is reinvested, then I'll just be going on a consistent $2,000 a month basis. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Hopefully it's not too confusing, but at a high level, the main summary is that I'm switching from Wealthsimple Invest to Wealthsimple Trade. I'm investing on my own into XCQT every single month within my TFSA. Also, because to end off this year, I maxed out my TFSA account, which is very exciting. I'll have to re-max it out again in the new year because your contribution room grows every single year. So I'll do that first, but at some point next year, I'm gonna have to open up a new investment account, potentially an FHSA. We'll get a little bit more into that in some videos next year, so stay tuned. But just know that in the new year, another change to my investing strategy will be which account I open up next. So we'll talk more about that this year. Okay, so the last thing I'm gonna talk about is my budget categories, budget overview for 2024. So I'm gonna pull it up. I got my laptop here and walk you guys through it. So the first tab is my like standard monthly budget. This is what if every single month was the same. Of course it's not, but if it was, what is gonna be my goal for the main categories. So rent is at $950. This time last year it was $925. It got raised in the middle of the last year. So now we're paying at $950 a month. Internet hopefully is gonna stay the same. We might have to renegotiate again, but if it stays the same at about $62 a month, my portion is $31 a month. Utilities, like our hydro goes anywhere between $25 and $30. So I just budget on the high end at $30. Groceries, I'm upping a little bit. Last year I had $250 a month as my goal. We ended up hitting, we were over that and under that depending on the month. But we ended up hitting an average of like $282 to $300. I think I'm gonna make my budget $300 because that way I'm not allocating the money to other places to overspend. So it's on the high end, but we'll see how that goes. So groceries, $300. Restaurants, $150. This is going to be my craziest category to try to focus on for the year. I don't know if you guys saw, but I spent like $5,000 on eating out last year. So that's my biggest personal goal to bring that down. We'll probably do some challenges and stuff throughout the year. Let me know what you want to see and how I can creatively bring that down. Coffee shops, I'm keeping at $50. I'm pretty good at that. It's something I like to have in my budget. Public transportation, I actually ended up refilling my like Presto card, it's called. It's a public transportation card about every other month. So I'm just gonna actually budget $50 per month, even though really it'll be either 0 or 100 depending on the month. Taxi services, I do spend in that category sometimes, but not enough to budget for it. So that's at 0. Still getting a massage every single month, $146.50. Personal care, I'm keeping at $100 a month. It's kind of hard because sometimes I go over, but I do feel like that one helps me try to keep it down by keeping it at a low amount. So I'll keep that one there. And then the only other category that I'm actually budgeting something specific for is subscriptions, $12.42 a month. That's for Spotify specifically. Now, I am throwing some money in here, and the reason it's very specific at $339.92 is because I just took the average. I think I spent $4,000-ish in the other category last year. So divided that by 12, that's about what that is at. So at least that way, every single month, right? It's gonna be higher than that some months and much lower other months, but that kind of gives me my monthly budget. So my monthly expenses total, if I stick to this, would be $2,159.91. You also see on here that I have my monthly income total. This is that new number I said we're paying ourselves out this year and what it'll add up to on an annual level. Of that, I'm also trying to invest that $2,000 a month. And so then this $300 number, that's all the expenses that I have budgeted for. And the investing portion, that's what I'd have left over from my income. So if I'm able to have something left over in the budget, then I could save like $3,500, $3,600 this year on top of that, but we'll see. I'll probably end up spending that amount. You'll see below it, I also wanted to input, there we go, on my big expenses alone, I could potentially spend that amount. I guess that's kind of a nice way to do it. If I save a little bit every month, I can cover these big expenses. But dentist appointment, I go twice a year. Christmas gifts is a big one, once a year. And then getting my hair cut, this is including getting it dyed. That's why it's such a high number. But these are all things I can't really budget for on a monthly basis, but I know are gonna be coming up this year, so I wanna have them on my radar as well. Now that's it for like the standard budget categories, but I do wanna show you guys that we used the same budget spreadsheet all last year. It worked really well for us, tracking all of our transactions and expenses. It really helps me with what I wanna cut down on this year or what I didn't mind spending spending on. So I'll show you right now a little bit of the changes that we made for this year. The first one is I now have a bank accounts tab. I like to do this. It's kind of a little bit manual. If you don't want to, you could just not. But at the beginning of the month, I just actually kind of give a point in time snapshot of where all my accounts are sitting at, because obviously they're always changing. But at the beginning of January 2024, so where we're at right now, this is exactly how much is in my checking account, my 2 savings account, and also now my investment account. So we can see if I keep filling this out February, March, April, we can see how the numbers are shifting. Obviously the checking account, because it's a hub, right? It depends on if I've been paid when I write this down or not. It's going to change, but I'm really curious to see how my investments go up and down, and also how much I have saved by tracking it in this way. Now, the most important tab in the spreadsheet, in my opinion, is the monthly expense tracker. This is the manual part of the budget that I think gets me to actually stick to my categories, really be aware of what's going on with my budget, and be able to make changes every single month as I go throughout the year. So how I do this is, for me personally, you could do this on a monthly basis, set up a day for yourself. For me, I kind of try and keep it going as I can throughout the month, spend a few minutes here and there every week. You put in the date. So let's say I went grocery shopping on January 1st, which maybe I will. January 1st, groceries. I'll say that I went to Metro specifically and exactly how much it cost me. I almost put $1,000, $100. And then that'll be how I track everything throughout the month. And then over here, you can see how you actually did against your budget, your actuals versus your budgeted amount, and rate yourself if you did okay or not. So that's what this is at. And then I also have my annual budget tab as well. So everything from the monthly expense tracker will feed into here, so I can see on an annual basis how my budget's going for all these different categories. I really, really loved tracking my budget this way over the past year. It's been really awesome. I'm planning on doing it again next year, like I said, and we're also planning on actually making this budget template available for you guys as well. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be coming really soon. We want to hear in the comments though if you guys are excited about it, if you'd be interested in it. We know we got a lot of comments asking about this and how we track it last year. So that's everything for my budget category and this template. So that's it for my money strategy and plans for next year. I really want to hear from you guys. What are you planning on doing? Are you changing up your budget, your investment strategy? How did this past year go for you? Let me know all of that in the comments below. We also have a lot of really exciting videos all about this type of topic, investments, all of that coming up soon. We're really excited for those videos. And until then, Happy New Year, and we'll see you soon.